Welcome back to the Content Marketing Playbook. It's your host, Josh Culler with Culler Media. And on today's episode, we're going to be reviewing, actually over the course of the next several episodes, we're going to be reviewing some of the platforms that you might put content marketing out on. So I want to review the platforms because I know I've actually had several questions about the platform specifically, like, hey Josh, can you kind of like tell us exactly what needs to be done with Facebook or what needs to be done with YouTube or Instagram? Because each platform kind of has their nuances and there's a lot of similarities between multiple different platforms. So for instance, Facebook and LinkedIn are very similar in the types of like content that you can actually distribute, but there are obviously the nuances that you need to know about. So I'm going to review over the next couple of episodes the platforms themselves and explaining how I use them specifically for my business and how I use them for the people that we actually distribute content for as well. So the first one we're going to start off with is Facebook, kind of the OG of social media platforms. I know MySpace was before them, and there's a couple others that were here and there before Facebook, but Facebook was really the OG of putting content out, especially for business purposes, which this Content Marketing Playbook podcast, this is specifically for businesses and people that are maybe you're the only person in your business. So you're doing the content marketing yourself and you need help with that. Or maybe you are a marketing director and you are trying to just learn more about content marketing. That's what this show is specifically for. And so we're going to be talking specifically about Facebook. I'm going to be talking about business pages and how to leverage that specifically, but I am going to be talking about personal profiles as well and how you can leverage content marketing on your personal profile. So this week's going to be Facebook. Next week will be Instagram. The week after that will be YouTube. And then I'll go from there from a couple other standpoints, probably LinkedIn. I might hit TikTok. I'm not sure yet. I'm not super comfortable talking about TikTok just because I'm not really a practitioner of it. I have a couple clients that we're distributing content for on TikTok, but again, that's something that I don't really want to talk about if I'm not an expert in it. And so this week we're starting off with Facebook. But before we jump into it, guys, forgive me. I've been on podcasts all day long and phone calls, so I might be a little bit dry right now, but we're still going to push through it. But if you haven't already, make sure you have subscribed to the Content Marketing Playbook. You can actually go catch all the show notes on the Content Marketing pb.com. So Content Marketing PB stands for Playbook. ContentMarketingPB.com is where you can actually consume all of the show notes for the show. Anything that I mentioned here, any talking points, quotes, or whatever, you can actually view those on the website. And whatever platform you're listening on, thanks for listening and subscribing. If you're on Apple Podcasts, I would much appreciate a 5-star review. That would mean the world to me. So much appreciate that in advance. So do that if you would. And then obviously this is going out video too. So Facebook, YouTube, what's up guys? Make sure you're subscribing, liking, commenting, whatever, sharing it around. Much appreciate it in advance. So let's talk about Facebook and understanding Facebook. Now I am going to be talking very specifically to those who are putting content marketing out on Facebook and leveraging Facebook as a content platform, right? So there's a lot of different things you can do with Facebook when it comes to marketing and when it comes to advertising, running ads and stuff like that. But I really have, and this is kind of like, I don't really have a very specific direction for these. It's more of a ninja tricks type podcast, I guess. So the things I would recommend and a little bit of nuggets and tips that I can give you guys on how, again, I'm using Facebook and how the clients that we're distributing for uses Facebook as well. So I'm kind of just going to hit these points. I've got about 10 or 12 points that I'm going to hit and just expound on each one, and then we'll kind of go from there. So we're just talking about Facebook right now, understanding Facebook for your content marketing purposes. So the first thing, and this is going to suck for a lot of people because I know a lot of people have had their business pages up for a very long time, but at the end of the day, especially with Facebook fan pages and business pages, it is a pay-to-play platform, right? So the organic reach of Facebook pages is very non-existent at this point. If you even if you have thousands of followers and thousands of likes on your Facebook page, you will notice a very significant drop off from now if you put a video out as opposed to 5 years ago. Like 5 years ago, we're talking like your organic reach is awesome. But Facebook has become a platform where they're trying to humanize it a lot more. So they're wanting to push personal profiles into the feeds of people and really leverage it in that manner because other platforms like LinkedIn or Instagram have become very much influencer and business type profiles. So Facebook is really going that direction. And because of that, they are a business, guys. And so because of that, they do need to make money. And the way they're doing that is if you want attention on your content on Facebook, you got to either boost it or run ads for it and bring people on on your actual page through paying for it with your money, right? And that's essentially what it is. Now, that's not to say that organic content is dead. Organic content on Facebook is not dead in the least bit. People will still see it. It's just that your reach is going to be a lot less than what it used to have been. So I'm not saying don't put content out. Facebook is a must. Facebook pages are a must when you're putting content out. And a lot of people actually use Facebook pages as their website, as their main hub website for people to be able to find and kind of determine if they're actually going to, convert or do a transaction with a business. So, for instance, for me, if I'm looking for a restaurant, obviously I'm looking at Google Maps very often, but sometimes I'll even click on their Facebook profile or their Facebook page and see what they've got going on, see what reviews they have, see what presence they have, that kind of thing. So Facebook pages can become that secondary website for you or third website for you in addition to Google My Business. So you still do need to put content out there in order to be relevant. So make sure you're still doing that. So this is not a free pass for you to not put content out, but you just need to understand that Facebook is a pay-to-play platform, right? So the next thing, let's talk about pillar and micro content. So the types of content to put out on Facebook. Let me if you haven't heard the podcast yet, there's a podcast episode I have talking about the differences between pillar and micro content. I'm just going to run through that really quick. Pillar content is basically your large form content. So typically think of it as this podcast right here is going to be 15, 20 minutes long. That is my pillar content because it's a long form content, whether that's through the audio or the actual video itself on YouTube or Facebook or whatever. That's my pillar content. Micro content are those little bite-sized pieces of content that are chopped down from the pillar content. So if you're not following me on Instagram, first of all, go do that, Josh K Color, or just search Josh Color and you'll find me there. But if you're following me on Instagram, you'll see that every once in a while, or not every once in a while, very often, I'll actually post little snippets of videos of me talking about a specific topic. But most of those are actually snippets from my long form content, whether that's this podcast or a longer form video that I put out, or from my REI Marketing Weekly podcast. And that's normally what I'm doing. So I'm just repurposing my content. Facebook is a great platform for both of those types of content. And that's why Facebook is really good with this, because it's one of the only platforms you can actually do this with. LinkedIn might be the only other platform where you can actually post long form content and micro content. So micro content will be that short little snippet, that 60-second nugget that you said in the long form content, or it might be a quote card or whatever. But when next week we'll talk about Instagram. Instagram is not a platform where you can really post 30-minute podcast episodes. It's just not. People are not going to sit on Instagram and listen to a 30-minute video. And if they do, they've got nothing better to do, right? And so that's the important thing to understand. Facebook is a good platform for both pillar and micro content. So that's why it's awesome. So you can post your entire full podcast video and then chop it down and distribute little pieces of it later on in the week or whatever, in order to push people back to that full podcast episode. So that's a good thing to understand. The next thing is to take advantage of live and premiere videos. I'm very big on the premieres because you can post-produce your content and then schedule it. And if you schedule it as a premiere, it's actually going to push into the algorithm the same way that a live video does. So the reason why people do live videos is because it notifies your audience. Anybody that's following you, it notifies you that, hey, Josh Color is live right now. And then it prompts people to actually jump on. So they're actually getting that notification. And then later on, they're going to scroll through their Facebook and see that same live video. So that's why live is like really big, because Facebook does actually push that a lot more than say you take this video and you just upload it like a regular video. Facebook's going to favor those live videos because it's making people jump onto their platform at that moment. So that's why it's powerful. So leverage Facebook Lives, leverage the Premiere function as well. Premiere is great, like I said, because you can post-produce a video and then just schedule it as a Premiere, and people are still going to get reminders that you're going live, in quotations. I'm doing this if you're listening on the podcast. That's how it works. So Premiere is great for that. So leverage both of those functions. Use Creator Studio to schedule content. Now, this is something that's kind of up and coming right now. They're still working on some tweaks, but my team, this past week, we've migrated all of our scheduling for our clients, all the content that we schedule out. We were using Loomly which was a great platform. And if you guys aren't familiar, third-party distributors like Buffer or Hootsuite are probably the biggest ones. But we were using Loomly because it was the most reliable and the best one that we found. And then Facebook came out with their own. And so we've merged all of our scheduling over to them. The reason we did that, number one, is because it allows us to actually, as long as the accounts are linked from Facebook page to a Instagram business page, we can actually schedule, which is really awesome. We can schedule any videos out to Instagram, and they'll go out to Instagram and Facebook at the same time. And that's great. But you can actually schedule IGTV videos with Facebook Creator Studio on Instagram, which that is a revolutionary product because there's no other service out there. And most services actually can't schedule out Instagram posts, which is a really, really big function. So Creator Studio. Now, the reason why this is awesome is, number one, yes, because you can actually schedule all your content out on Facebook and Instagram simultaneously. That's awesome. That's worth it altogether. Number two, it's free. You can add 100 different accounts if you wanted to, and it's still going to be free. And the third one is because it's the most reliable. So because it's a Facebook product, it's a Facebook, it's a function. It's an extension of Facebook itself. It's not a third-party distributor like Loomly or Hootsuite or Buffer. It's going to be reliable. So that's why I love it the most. But at the end of the day, the biggest factor is that it's not going to ding you in the algorithm. Now, there's been a myth out there for a long time that you actually get dinged massively if you, use Buffer or Hootsuite to distribute a piece of content to. And there's been, a lot of back and forth between that. At first, yes, you would get dinged massively because Facebook doesn't want you to use a third-party distributor. They want you to post natively. And that's kind of come back to fruition, especially on business pages. So again, I mentioned earlier, the organic reach on a Facebook page is very low. And so you want all the advantage that you could possibly have. And if that means, even if you're getting dinged a little bit on Facebook not pushing your content because you're using Buffer, then I would go as far as I possibly could to make sure that I'm eliminating, those getting dinged from being in the algorithm. And Creator Studio, because it is a Facebook product, they're not going to ding you on scheduling your content out. They're acting like it is just like you're going to your Facebook page and you're actually using the scheduler on the Facebook page. So that's some of the best reasons why. So I would use Creator Studio all day long. My distributor loves it. She's absolutely obsessed with it because it's reliable. It does what it's supposed to do. And also your organic reach is not going to drop because you are using a third-party distributor. So Creator Studio. Next thing is ads do work. Guys, Facebook ads do work. I use them for my business and they work beautifully, but you do have to know what you're doing with them, right? So you can't just take ads and throw money at it and get results. That's just not how it works. So I would always recommend, maybe if you want to, you can study Facebook ads and figure out how to do it correctly. But at the end of the day, it might be best for you, especially if you are a business, if you don't want to become a jack of all trades in your business and you want to leave it to the professionals, I would hire an agency to actually run your ads for you. So that's like my recommendation. I always recommend that. I know how to run ads, so I do it for my business. But don't just think that ads don't work because you're not seeing results because you did it. It's not always the ad's fault. A lot of times it is a user error. It's the same issue of, if you put a basketball in my hand, I'm not going to be able to make money with it. But if you put a basketball in LeBron James' hands, because he knows how to use that tool, he can make millions and millions and millions of dollars. So it's a difference in that, right? So just understand that ads do work. I use them for my business and I use them. I see every other business that uses them correctly. It works for them. You just have to know how to build it out. So either put effort into learning ads and how to build them out correctly, or hire somebody that actually knows what they're doing and get them done that way. If you have pillar content, so like for me, for instance, this video podcast is going to be going out on Facebook. I'm actually boosting this post. And the reason I'm boosting this post is because I'm boosting it to my custom audience. So these are people that I have their contacts in my CRM. And I uploaded a custom audience to Facebook and said, Facebook, I want you to target this group of people and a very lookalike audience to that group of people. So I'm telling Facebook who I want to see my ad instead of just throwing money at it and boosting the post and saying, hey, I want the demographic of blank, blank, blank. I'm telling Facebook who I want to see the ad. And so that's a really good tip and it works well for me. I've gained a lot of subscribers and got a lot of traction off of it. I only throw like $15 or $20 a week at it. So I'll run this boosted post from now until next Sunday, or this coming Sunday. So it'll stretch, 6 days. And then when my podcast episode comes out next Tuesday, then I'll run it again for another 4 to 5 days, and only 15, 20 bucks. So it's just getting reach out there. And like I said, Facebook is a pay to play platform. So if it takes $15, $20 a week for me to get in front of thousands of people, I'm going to do that all day long. So a lot of marketers will tell you don't boost your posts and that kind of thing. And I completely agree with that. If you're using it as an actual ad, that doesn't work, but I'm boosting it because I want that piece of content in front of people that I want it in front of, right? So if that makes sense. So I would suggest boosting your pillar content if you have some. So if you have a podcast, boost that, spend 15, 20 bucks a week on just getting that in front of your custom audience. And I do go as far as telling you, like, I would use a custom audience. So if you don't know how to do that, just Google how to upload custom audience to Facebook and run that boost specifically at that targeted list. So that's what I would do. Next is vertical video all day long. I have an entire podcast episode about what formats to use for video, so go back and listen to that. But vertical video will dominate all day long on Facebook because what your goal is to take up the entire phone screen. Desktop is out of the question right now. Phone screen is what you're wanting to take up, and the more phone screen real estate you take up with your video, the less likely you are for somebody to just kind of scroll past because they got distracted from the piece of content that's below it. So just keep that in mind. The next thing I have here is make your videos consumable without audio. This is huge. So it's meant to be said that I think it's like 80% of video content that's consumed on Facebook is done so without the audio actually activated, which is mind-blowing to me. So make sure that your content, people are able to actually they're not gonna be able to fully consume the content with the audio off. But if you have a video out there, make sure that you have a nice little video wrapper on it, a title that says exactly what you're talking about, maybe some captions. Captions would be absolutely incredible. If you're uploading that video specifically to Facebook, they do have an auto caption function. And so I would turn that on because that's going to help you with people when they're actually scrolling through and they're just letting the video play without the audio. They're going to see those captions scrolling across the screen. And there's other platforms you can use to embed the captions in the actual video. I use headliner.app. I love it. I think it works beautifully. So I would try that out. But you need to make sure you test your videos, make sure that they're able to be consumed without the audio actually turned on, because that's a very big piece of people consuming Facebook nowadays, Facebook videos nowadays. So make sure you take that into consideration. I just already mentioned it. Auto captions, they rock. Try it out. Daily content is great. So daily content, make sure you're putting content out as much as you possibly can. I have it actually as a later point, but you can never have enough content. You never will. It's not going to happen. You're not going to be able to put out enough content for people to consume. Here's the way the algorithms work. No matter what marketer tells you what, it's very simple. Okay? If somebody is seeing your content on a consistent basis, it's because they're engaging in it, whether they're liking, commenting, sharing, or they're actually just watching your video. Okay, so if somebody sees your content often, that means they're engaging in it. If they're engaging in it, it's probably because they like it. So they actually enjoy and they're getting value out of your content, right? And if they're getting value out of it, that means that they actually they want to see your content. So they're going to see more of it. Now, let's reverse that role. If somebody is not seeing your content at all, it's probably because they're not engaging with it. If they're not engaging with it, it's probably because they don't like it. They're not getting value out of it. So therefore, why would you want your content in front of them anyways? Let me give you an example. I gave this example earlier, and I'm not bashing anybody, right? So I follow both Grant Cardone and Gary Vaynerchuk on Facebook, their Facebook pages, right? I never, ever, ever see any of Grant Cardone's stuff. I like a lot of what Grant Cardone stands for, but I am just not about the whole suit and tie, that corporate aura to it, with the fancy cars, the cash, and all that stuff, the flashy things. I'm not about that life. And so because of that, I don't engage with his content. So I don't hardly ever see it. But I do follow his page. I follow Gary V's page as well, but he's all about more of the raw type feel to it, just kind of giving just blanket statements and just feeding his thoughts out. No flash, no nothing like that. No cars, no cash on the screen and stuff like that. And so because of that, I engage with his content a lot. So I see it all the time, right? So I follow both of them. Same level. I follow both of them. They put out the same amount of content, but I don't see Grant Cardone stuff because I don't engage with it. Get where I'm going. So that's kind of how the algorithms work, no matter what anybody tells you. So we're winding this down. Just got a couple more for you here. So to digest all this one at a time, right? So don't try to like take all this all at once. I know it's just drinking like from a fire hose. So just try to take these points, strategize with them each individually. The next thing is, this is a little bit of an unknown fact, but don't link your posts, or don't link inside of your actual post description. So when you put a post out there and you put a link on the actual post, don't do that. The reason why is because Facebook's a jealous platform. They don't want people to leave their platform in order to go somewhere else, even if it's your website, even if it's a podcast subscription or something like that. So a trick that you can bypass that with is, in your actual post description, say, if you want to visit my website, click on the first comment below. And what you'll do is you'll take your link and comment that in your actual content. And that actually helps with Facebook not penalizing you for linking out, because Facebook will penalize you if you're going to link out of Facebook. And so that's a little bit of a not known fact. So make sure you take that in consideration. All you got to do is take that link and put that in the first comment. So then in the description, you'll say, click the link in the first comment below, and then people can access that same link in the comment section, and it's just as easy. So make sure you're considering that. Leverage your personal profile. I like to put a lot of business content out there. I know it's going to be different for every person, so depending on what friends you have and whatnot, but most of my friends on Facebook are people that are in my target demographic. So I do put a lot of business content out there. And so I engage with people. I tag people and say, hey, what do you think of this? And that kind of thing. So I would leverage your profile as much as you possibly can. Don't be afraid to do it, because it is, if it's your business, it's your life. Like that's that at the end of the day. So don't be afraid to put content out there. Again, it goes back to, if you do put business content out there, people are not going to engage with it if it's not relevant to them. And so they're not going to see it. So that's okay. You want it to get in front of the people you want it to be in front of, right? So leverage your personal profile as much as you possibly can. And then the last thing I have here is use it to network. Networking is huge when it comes to businesses, especially if you're a B2B business. But if you're a B2C, let people know what you do by the content you put out, whether that's, putting a status or a video or an image or something like that. It doesn't matter. Like if you're one of my my buddies, James, he's a HVAC guy. And every once in a while, and so he's very B2C business, right? He has consumers in his target demographic. And he puts out content every once in a while, just videos or images or just a status update about, hey, I think the other day he put something out that he's looking for another employee or another team member or whatever. But by doing that, he's putting content out there and letting people know what he does. And so I assume a lot of his business has come from friends on Facebook that know what he does just by the content he puts out. So leverage it in the way that you want to at best, but just remember, like, you got to do what you got to do. And if people don't want to consume your business content, they're not going to, because it's not relevant to them, and you just got to be okay with that. So these are my ninja tricks for Facebook, for putting content on Facebook. There's probably 1,000 more I could talk about, but these are the ones that are at the top of my mind, and that I'm personally using for my business and the clients that we have as well. So take these into consideration. Make sure you're taking advantage of each and every one of these. Like I said, I know it's like drinking from a fire hose, taking all this into consideration, but strategize it. A lot of these are just simple things that you can do today with your content. But this is Understanding Facebook. Next week, we'll talk about Instagram specifically. So if you have any questions about Facebook, about putting content out in any platform or any topics about content marketing, reach out to me, josh@colormedia.com, colored spelled C-U-L-L-E-R. That's my email address. You can email me with your questions, and I'm happy to address those or even cover them on the podcast as well. Make sure you are subscribed to the show. And if you're watching the video on Facebook or YouTube, make sure you give it a like, share it around. I'd much appreciate that. Thank you so much for listening today, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. See you later.